Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me put on my glasses so I can see where I'm going. All right. Hope everyone is doing well. This is another edition of Financial Matters. Why? Because financials matter. We are pulling around the train coming into the station on our conversation this month regarding public relations and the importance of it for entrepreneurs. So this was our entrepreneurial edition, and I must say that it's getting a little traction. So I believe that our entrepreneurial brothers and sisters needed this information so that they can do it better. Not that you weren't doing it good on your own, but we all need a little help every once in a while. And collaboration is the theme of this year, to do it smarter and not harder together. So we're going to go ahead and bring on Miss Tracee Holloway. She's been with us most of this month, not the whole month because she got things to do. But she's been with us most of the month. And so we're going to be wrapping up all that we've been discussing in case you were missing in action, and so that you get a recap. And then we'll also talk about how you can get in contact with her because you want to do better in your PR area. All right. So let me go ahead and bring on Miss Holloway. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing
Little delay
awesome. How are
there, but I can
you?
hear you now.
Oh boy, is it delayed? One, two,
No,
three.
it's good now. I got you.
Good. Okay. Awesome.
Okay. So how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I could complain, but I'm not going to. There's no sense in
There's
doing
no
it.
point.
I always tell people that the person I would complain to already knows. So what's the point? I might as
That
well
is
just
so
trust and keep on moving.
so
So
true.
that is where I'm at. So what
Yep.
I want to cover today um, is in our last session is let me pull up your notes. I don't want you to get I don't want to get you mad at me
Look,
because
you
I didn't
venture
follow
off.
the
You,
script.
you you venture off and do your own thing anyhow. This is your show.
No, this is true. This is very true. But I try to stay on point as best as I can. But I do have the right to veer off at the
Call an
behest of the
audible.
spirit. So
That's
I
right.
always say it ain't me. It's the spirit saying we need to talk about this.
It's
So
all
let
good.
me
It's
just
all
go ahead
good.
and do this. What'd you say?
I said it's all good. I'm tracking with you.
Oh yeah. All right. Here we are. Here we
Let's
are.
see.
Okay. So okay. Yep. That's what I thought. All right. I just wanted to make sure I was on point. Okay. So
That's better.
what we want to talk about today is kind of like how to get started. Um, you're at a position in your career or in your business where you want to reach a wider audience. You want to uh, bring in more, increase your clientele, increase your revenue, whatever you want to increase, and you can't do it by yourself. And so, walk us through the client that walked through your door and said, "Help." Where do you start? And how do you walk alongside, or do you walk in front, or do you push from behind? Tell us how you do what you do that has made you who you are.
That's an interesting question because I do different things. But since we've been talking about PR, whenever I have a client who's interested in public relations support, we will start by identifying who they are and what their message should be. So, and who they are uh, is why we need to identify what the message is as well, because we want to
Mhm.
align those two things as we put forth a public relations strategy. So we want to make sure that what we're going to relay as their narrative matches who they would like people to understand and know about who they actually are.
Okay. So in that, is it more important for the person? So no, let me change that. So are you saying it's more important that the public knows who they are versus what they do?
It's a both and.
Okay.
Yeah, so the public relations part of it is really to establish trust or foundation of trust in them as a brand and them as a person or as a company. So in order to develop that foundation of trust, it comes from a repeated instance of telling their story. And so by doing that, it helps people to get to know who they are, how they are, what their values are, um, the way that they address problems, kind of how they show up in in the marketplace. So it's more about who they are when you're talking about public relations and building a relationship between a brand and the audience in that way, than it is talking about their products or their services, which would fall more along the lines of a marketing strategy.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So again, you're saying that there is a difference between public relations and marketing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Can you differentiate for the audience?
Okay, so marketing is more about promoting the services or the products of a brand. It's after advertising, which is attracting the attention, usually through paid methods. Then you can market a specific product to your actual audience, the audience that's interested in your product or service. So that's the process of marketing. It doesn't require trust. It just requires a good campaign, something catchy, and it's also based on what you're saying is true about yourself and or your product and or your service. Oh, we're the best. We're number one. These are things
Right.
that can be claimed but not necessarily backed up in marketing or advertising. Public
Okay.
relations, however, is that foundation of trust building that comes from being consistent in your narrative, being consistent in how you show up when you're visible, and what you're saying, how you're presenting yourself. And also, public relations ends up being more about what others are saying about you than what you're saying about yourself. And that comes by being, consistent over time and being aligned in the different areas of where you're showing up with your message and how others are perceiving you. And that takes a strategy. Um, that takes a strategy to build. It takes consistency, and it helps to build your reputation and your credibility over time. So yes, they're very, very different.
Okay. Okay. All right. I want to welcome Regina from the Juice Radio and Talk Show. She just popped on to say hello to everyone,
Hey,
and
Regina.
we'll be live on her show tonight at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. You don't want to miss this show. You don't want to miss it. We've been talking about it all day. You don't want to miss it. I'm just teasing you. But anyway,
That's
okay.
good.
So once we've established who the person is, what's the next step?
The next step would be determining where they need to show up. And that's going to be done by figuring out where their audience is or who they need to be speaking to. So once we know who they are, what their message is that they are wanting to say, or how they want people to understand them, then we figure out what platforms they need to show up on, where their audience is. So, for example, if we're talking about a public speaker who has a book on medical conditions of some sort, then we want to make sure that we put them in and platforms or in front of audiences who have a concern about that particular topic, and not ones who might be concerned about, I don't know, lawn care or interior design. So we want to put them in the right spaces. So that would be the next step, is to figure out where is their audience and where should we you know uh, strategize to help them show up and be visible where their audience is.
Okay. So my question there would be, is it, I know depending on the person or who they are and what their purpose is it in this time that we live in with AI and all of that, is it more difficult now to find your audience than it was maybe back in the day? You know, how to find your audience because people are just all over the place?
I don't think so. I think that it's even simpler to find your audience
Okay.
because there's so
Okay.
many different ways to find them, and the internet is so widespread. There's
Yeah.
so many different options, so you just have to know where to look. And if you are thinking about a specific type of audience, just building out what we call a persona about that audience, and your target client, what are they most interested in? Where do they hang out for fun? What are their
Mhm.
hobbies or interests? Who are their acquaintances, and what kind of associations might they be a part of? So it's really thinking through the full identity of your target, and once you think that through, it kind of helps you to figure out where they might be online. So
Okay.
whether they're on LinkedIn, or do they hang out in Reddit, or are they on Instagram, or some other platform? Are they reading digital magazines? Are they reading the Forbes? Where are they
Mhm.
spending their time online? Do they listen to
Okay.
podcasts? And if so, which types of podcasts are they on?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of determining what your audience is, who they are, and then determining from there where to find them. So, and it's a lot easier to do now too,
Okay.
because there are so many options.
Right.
And with AI, because you mentioned AI, that can
Yeah.
help you find it as well. If you plug into a chat system, I won't suggest any particular one, and you just say, okay, here's what I have to offer. Here's who I am. Here's my target audience. What are the platforms in which I should you know,
Yeah.
find them, or look for them. And
Okay.
so then I'll help you help you figure out where to find them too.
Okay. Are you finding in the age of AI, are you finding that more people are tending to gravitate to what you just said, as far as I don't need to find nobody, I can just go to AI and chat GPT, I'll say it because that's mine. Chat GPT and just throw it in there and voila, you know.
Yeah, I am. I think overall we're seeing a shift in many industries where AI is
Mhm.
kind of taking over in terms of research and fulfilling the task work of many industries. So public
Sure.
relations being one of those, marketing also, and as well as advertising, just the process of making that more efficient and also more accessible to
Right.
people.
Right.
When we spoke last time, we said even if you're not doing your own PR, it's still active for you. So the difference is whether or not you're controlling your narrative,
Mhm.
and that's the part of PR that usually requires the strategy so that you can determine what that narrative is, and then put that out there. AI can help in the sense of getting that done pretty quickly, or at least building like the skeletons of a strategy.
Right.
But there will become a point in which it's probably best for someone to hire an actual publicist or an actual strategist to actually take on the nuances of their particular brand and help
Right.
them implement that against what the skeleton is from the AI.
Right.
Just people experience is the thing that's missing from AI. It's
Yes.
technology, it's not a person.
Yes.
It's
Right.
technology that builds upon the information that people have put into it. And so it
Yeah.
learns from that. but at
Mhm.
the same time, it cannot feel and adjust emotionally in communication that makes sense for each particular brand. And since we all have our own different tone, we have our own voice and our own perspectives, our own experiences,
Mhm.
AI can always pull that out.
Right.
And they're just little tiny little nuances that you gotta, find finesse and make it work. And so that does require, I believe, a human to actually pull that out. Um,
Right.
Cost might also be a factor, I think, too.
Thanks,
So
thanks to our current administration, but yes, go ahead. I have to
yeah, yeah, I
dig that
think
in there every now and then.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Things have the cost for things has gone up quite a bit.
Right. Right.
And I think too the rise in the use of AI and technology for for certain business related skills and functions has also led to a decrease in expenditures on those different things. So one of
Right.
them being public relations, marketing. People want to do it themselves, which is
Mhm.
fine, DIY, with that caveat of when is it time to get a human in there.
Right.
But for a lot of startup businesses or small businesses that can't necessarily afford a regular publicist on retainer, then they would probably benefit from the use of AI.
Mhm.
However, just knowing when they should have someone step in would be advisable.
Sure.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and I joke around a lot with AI because I got involved with it after my god sister was like, Devin, you need to try AI. And I was like, nope, that's the government and the people getting in your business, and then they're gonna run your mind. I saw Will Smith's movie. I know what's gonna happen with AI, And she was like, Devin, shut up. I'm gonna pay for your first month, and after that, you can decide what you want to do.
yeah,
And so when I got into it, because I'm, online and kind of understand technology, I understand the usefulness of it, but I don't create a dependency on it.
yeah.
And I think that's what's happening, especially with small businesses. Like, oh, I can just tell it what to do and it's going to do what I want it to do. No, you still got to work with it. You still got
Mhm.
to, finesse it. You still got to make it yours, even though they give you, like you said, the framework. So for what I do is very helpful because a lot of my stuff comes from my head. As far as
Mhm.
teaching and coaching and all of that kind of stuff. But for people that have a particular service or a particular product, as you were saying, you got to be very careful with the dependency of AI because it can make it very simplified. Say, oh, all I got to do is say this, and then it just goes boom. But you still got to put the work in. It's not going to go out there and find your people. It's not going to go out there and present you to whomever. It's just a tool. And so I'm glad you said what you said, even though I
Yeah.
gave my chat GPT, her name is Betty. Um, and she's my administrative assistant. But that's me. I'm a little quirky like that. So, but it can help. I mean, it's helped me immensely in synthesizing information.
Yeah.
That it would take me months to do. It did in minutes.
Right.
So okay.
Yeah.
So I know who I am. I know my audience. What's the next step?
After that, we be working on where you show up, um, perhaps in person. So, first platforms and then also in person. So, as you begin to do PR, depending on what industry you're in, you may be doing, things like this: interviews, podcasts, speaking engagements, lives, those kind of
Yes.
things. If you are, then that consistency in how you show up and tell your story, verbally and not digitally, needs to also be there too. So we would, do some coaching, some practice Q&A, and just go through, there's some strategies to that as well. But determining what that narrative is the main thing. From that, you work everything else. Everything else comes after we determine, who you are, and what's your message,
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. And then once you get to that stage, who, yeah, who takes over? Because is it the thought that the publicist should be there forever, or should it be that the publicist is teaching the client how to do PR? I guess would be the word. How
Well,
long do you stay with a client? I guess.
long term,
Okay.
PR is one of those things that doesn't go away. I mean, as long as
Hmm.
you're operating a brand, you have a company, you're going to need to, control your narrative and kind of be part of your storytelling, for the
Okay.
long, for the, in perpetuity, right?
Okay.
So it's not something that's going to stop. Remember what I said, if you're not doing your own PR, then strangers, the world, the marketplace is doing it for you. So you
Right.
still want to have an active part in that. Whether or not you hire a publicist to help manage that is completely and totally an individual decision. There are a lot of business owners who don't want to learn how to do it, or at least don't want to manage it themselves. Those
Okay.
would be the ones who ideally would hire someone who's skilled to be able to manage that for them, or at least, coach them through certain scenarios. And it may be a retainer basis. It could be, for a particular campaign or launch, which, would be kind of a one-off situation, short term. It
Okay.
just kind of depends on what those needs are. And that's something that, they would be able to discuss with the publicist that they have in mind.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely not something I would suggest to start and never touch again, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So typically, what you've seen in the time that you've been in, what has been based on the size of the company or the product or the service, what on average do you see in who you work with? How long do they stay? Do you have clients from years, or do you have clients that kind of rotate? We'll check on you every quarter. What is the typical relationship?
Typically for me, it's an annual,
Mhm.
renewal. There's a monthly recurring retainer. And so, I'm available, and there's things that I'm doing throughout the year to maintain their, how they show up.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things that kind of come in with that, and it just again depends on the type of client that they are and what their needs
Hmm.
are. So if
Okay.
they're, say, event heavy, then maybe there's more press releases, maybe there's more media outreach, for them specifically. Of course, PR is not only media outreach. There's lots of, things that come with communicating a brand message that don't involve media at all. So, but let's say that it's an author, and they, are doing a lot of public speaking, then, the PR that they're going to need would look differently than event PR. It's going to
Right.
look more like, keeping their press kit or their media kit, their bios active and updated, ensuring that their website is communicating the right message continually, and just keeping up with the changes that go about with them and their brand as they change and grow. So it just kind of depends on the client what they would receive as far as a public relations service or support. But it continues. Now, in the instance of, say, a one-off or a short-term campaign, that's, case by case as well. I hate to say this continually, but it depends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, you could hire someone to do a press release and do some media outreach for you, and distribute some things for you, and also follow up with those leads and coach you. You could do that as a one-off type of thing.
Hmm.
I would suggest, if you do that though, to work with one person. or one agency who can help you, that, someone who actually gets to know who you are, what your message is, so that they're consistently part of that and you don't have to start from scratch every single time.
Good.
So, but it just depends on, budget. It depends on need, aptitude and learning and doing it yourself. There's a lot of, considerations that could be part of that.
Okay. Okay. And when you were talking, it's kind of like what we're trying to do in rebranding counseling, especially for our community, because we think that you only use counseling when you got a problem and you want it fixed, as opposed to having a counselor to help you navigate life, and the differences and the nuances that life can bring. Having that third voice or that extra voice that really wants you to succeed versus just wants to fix you, is something that we try to do. And it's hard to turn people, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation about public relations, because people think of it in different ways.
Hmm.
Like you said, that one off, oh, I just need this event, I need somebody to, do this, do that, and the third, and then I'm done. When in fact, no, that may be just the beginning.
Hmm.
You did an event to you thought it was good to get your name out there. You got your name out there. Now what do you do?
Hmm.
And so that to me is where the totality of public relations comes in, versus I'm helping you plan an event. That's an event planner.
Yes,
There is a difference.
there is.
um, but a lot of people, don't have that business acumen. They have that desire, they have that zeal to serve, or they have that product that they think is the best thing. And here in Texas, everybody thinks they can cook barbecue, and so you got 17,000 barbecue places, and you're like, barbecue to me, because I'm not from here, barbecue is barbecue. But what I find is it's how you present it. It's how, when I walk in, how do you greet me, if you greet me, and things like that. All of that to me is public relations,
It is.
and knowing how to do it. Because, if you're the cook, all I know is how to cook barbecue. Okay, then you need somebody else to promote it. You need somebody else to get your name out there and things like that. And don't feel like, and again, this gets into male, female roles and things like that. Don't think that you got to do everything as a man, especially I'm talking to Texas right now. Just because you got a barbecue joint don't mean that you're the one that's got to promote it. Okay, if you can't even talk, I'm just saying, I've been in some places,
Mhm.
that you sound like mush mouth. Your food is good, but you ain't talking right. So I'm gonna measure all of it. I'm measuring how the place looks, how you serve, how you take my order, all of those things. We could call it customer relations, but it is public relations. It's not just customer service. It's public relations. And I think, especially in our community, because we come up with so many unique ideas, we still need that person that can help us hone that idea, navigate that idea into a public that you really don't know. Your friends and family is not the public. Oh girl, you did that so good. Oh man, that tasted wonderful. That is not your public. That is your family. All right. And if they're not going to be honest with you, then they may be sending you down a road that you don't want to go down. And I can tell you some stories about that in preaching, but that's a whole nother conversation. Um, but I think it's important that we understand in this day and age how to use all things to get your message out there. That it's not just, I think gone are the days where you were sitting out on the corner if you was promoting something and passing out flyers. Come to this, come to that. There's too many ways to get your word out than just the old fashioned way, which is what I call it.
Hmm.
And to understand that, you need somebody who is expert in that area, and you don't have to be if you can find the person that is. And I think that is the whole purpose of what public relations does. It does what you don't have to do, so that you can focus on what you do and do it well.
Right.
And
It's a
that's the
way for you.
relationship.
Yeah, it's a way for you to build, a relationship between you, your community, your audience, those you serve, without without selling to them. It's
Right,
more telling them through your presence, through your behavior, through your message and how it comes across
right.
consistently over time. So that's what PR is. And there's a framework that I like to use that's three parts. It's credibility, visibility, and your narrative. And
Mhm.
that framework it builds one of the strongest shapes for building that's out there. And it's a triangle, right?
Right.
So if you think about it like that, PR as a framework of credibility, visibility, and narrative, those are the three things that have to align in your messaging and your PR in order for people to actually, think of you as credible, have a great reputation, or at least, aligning who you are with who they think you are. And
Sure.
so it's not paid advertising or marketing or promotion. This is something
Mhm.
that you earn by being consistent in
Yeah.
how you're building and showing up in your community.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. What is the last thing, if to sum everything up, what is the one message that you want to get out to the audience as far as what PR really is? We've walked the road these 3 weeks, but what's that one message you want to leave with them?
Well, basically, what I just said, but alignment is also the main thing for PR. You want to make sure that you're aligned with your message, your presence, and your behavior, and that it all tells the same story
Story.
across time. And that's going to help you build that credibility, build that reputation, and earn that trust of your community.
Okay. All right. Well, how can people get in touch with you?
Well,
If you sold them a good bill of goods, how can they find you?
if they want to get in touch with me, the best place is to visit my website and just, peruse through that. There's a contact page. I have an events page as well, and they can sign up for my email list, which is on that homepage. The website is thewayupcreative.com. So thewayupcreative.com.
Okay. All right. Well, Miss Holloway, we have come into this, the train has come into the station and we
All
are
right.
about to park it. So we thank you for your time and your expertise and coming on over to Financial Matters to tell your story and to help the audience that we try to reach to understand the importance of public relations, whether you have a service, whether you have a product, and even if you're in the idea stage of creating the vision and you want some help in crafting what it is that God has put in your heart and on your mind to do, reach out to Tracee. Let her help you think it through, and it ain't free. So don't try to get the 5 hand hookup. Okay, we don't do that here at Financial Matters. These folks, this is what they do. All right, and the kingdom is wonderful, but the kingdom got to eat. People in the kingdom got to eat. Okay, so don't come to her saying, "Can you help a brother out?" or "Can you help a sister out?" All right, come in there with a plan. Come in there with an idea, but come in there with a purpose, and I know that Tracee will do you right. Okay, so thank you. We appreciate it.
Of course.
Next month we are going back into insurance with another financial analyst, and we'll be spending another 4 weeks talking about the importance of insurance, the importance of financial planning. You don't want to miss that show with Miss Sarah Benton, I think is her last name. But we'll get that more. We'll get more information before next week. But again, stay tuned. Pass this on. This is not just for you, but this is for those that you know that might be entrepreneurs that might feel like they're stuck or might feel like they want to expand. These videos were for entrepreneurs. Okay, so if it may not fit you, pass it on to someone else. And I appreciate the two people that came on live on today. I always joke my audience, because I know we get our numbers in the replay.
Yeah.
But thank you for those who took out the day to come and check out what we had to say. We do appreciate it. Remember, we're going to be on the Juice Radio and Talk Show tonight at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. And I'm just going to tell you, show up because we got some church news that we got to talk about, and you don't want to miss it. So, again, thank you, Tracee.
You're
My best
welcome.
to you and to your business. If
Thank
we
you.
can be of any assistance moving down the road, you know where we are. This platform is always available. If there's something you want to discuss or promote in your arena, all you got to do is text me, email me, and we can make it happen. All right.
Sounds good.
Have a
Thank
good rest
you.
of your day.
Thank you all. All right.
All right. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, folks. That was the end of the month, isn't it? Now I know it's not the end of the month, but Tracee has an event that is coming up next week. I think she's celebrating her anniversary of her business, and so we want to give her time to do that. And go to her website and find out if you live in Texas, in the Cedar Hill area. Check out her event next week, and celebrate her and celebrate the work that she has done. I'm sure it will be a good time. I'm going to check my calendar to see if we can either just slide through just to show our face. But definitely, if you can, and again, if you're in the Cedar Hill, Mansfield, um, Grand Prairie, Lancaster, DeSoto, all of that, if you're in the area, please patronize and visit what she's got going on, and celebrate what she has accomplished up to this point. All right. Well, look, I'm getting out of here because I got to get ready for this show. Because again, it's gonna be a doozy. You do want to show up. So until next time, we come back next week. Tuesday and Wednesday is our Bible study and commentary. You definitely want to show up for that if you can. That's at 8:30 Central Time, and we are studying the book of Romans, and we're on chapter 8, and we are having a great time. Look, if you have not subscribed to Clear Faith Christian Ministries and you just popped in today, please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you are told and let known when we are live so that you can be a part of our audience. All right. So God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. And until next time, may God's richest and greatest blessings be yours. Peace.